What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Jeff Guy here, and in today's video we're going over the hardest rebuilds in Madden 23. Now, of course, these are my personal opinions, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Make sure you subscribe, comment, like, do all the things to let me know that you guys like this content. The factors that make a difficult rebuild are as follows. Number 5, they don't have enough draft capital. Number 4, they don't have a talented roster, or they have a really old roster. Number 3, they have a lot of bad contracts or a bad cap penalty. Number 2, a lack of talent and superstar abilities at skill positions. And the number 1 most important factor is, do they have a quarterback? Coming in at the easiest of the hard rebuilds is the Philadelphia Eagles. There's a lot to like about this roster, but there's also a lot of problems. Jalen Hurts is a guy you absolutely have to develop if you're an Eagles franchise player. He could be so good. He just has low throw power and might only have normal development, but he's fast and he's a good player. Try to develop him if you can as you're starting your franchise. The offensive weapons here are actually really strong in AJ Brown, Quez Watkins, Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor in Madden, not in real life. Miles Sanders is a good running back, and Dallas Goedert, solid tight end. The defense is old and leaves a lot to be desired. You still have Big Play Slay for another year. You still have Fletcher Cox for maybe 1 or 2 years. And then you got Jordan Davis to build around. There's not a ton here, and it's going to take a lot to rebuild this defense. And then going back to the offensive line, it's so talented, but we're going to see in a second, it's really overpaid, and they're all really old. The Eagles are in rough shape from a salary cap perspective. They have so many guys that are so overpaid. Let's take a look at them right here. Lane Johnson, it would cost $37.5 million just to cut guys like Dallas Goedert, Jordan Mailata, Reddick, Sweat, Hargrave, Maddox. All those guys in there are massively overpaid and will not give you the value that you're paying for in your Madden franchise. Now, the huge disclaimer, and I'm probably going to say this with every single team, is that we don't know how Madden 23 is going to work in terms of player regression, in terms of contract negotiations. Maybe we're going to be able to renegotiate, reallocate money for these guys to free up cap room. I mean, I don't really know how realistic that is, but if it happens, that's going to change a lot of these rankings and change how we view franchises as a whole. But right now, the Eagles are in a tough salary cap position, and that's going to be your biggest challenge when you're rebuilding the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Seahawks have started their rebuild pretty well after the departure of Russell Wilson, but I still think they're the number 4 hardest rebuild in Madden, specifically because 1, they don't have a starting quarterback, and 2, their defense has so many holes. And if you want to throw their offensive line as a third hole, I'm fine with that. The offensive weapons are just going to keep you in every single game. And really, it's not going to matter too much who you have at quarterback with all of these weapons. You just need a guy that's going to put the ball somewhere near them. And you have guys who can make plays. On defense, there's not a ton to love outside of Jamal Adams and Jordan Brooks. It's an interesting team. You definitely have to fill a lot of holes on defense. And I don't think you're going to have time to address quarterback because you have so many holes to fill on defense. You need some pass rushers. You need another off-the-ball linebacker. And you need 3 to 4 new corners. The Seahawks did get a lot of draft picks from the Denver Broncos, so they will have a lot of draft capital moving forward. That should help fill some of these holes, but it's not going to be the complete solve for you. And the Seahawks are another one of those teams that just has so much money invested in guys over 30. If the age of regression stays at about 28 for Madden 23, we're going to see guys like Tyler Lockett, Shelby Harris, Gabe Jackson all immediately diminish in value after year 1, year 2, and maybe even retire by year 3 of their franchise. Some of those guys are going to become unplayable. And like for Tyler Lockett, if you have 9, 10, 16 million invested in him in so many years, you're just not going to have a good time. The third hardest rebuild in Madden 23 is the Green Bay Packers. They have a lot of problems and a lot we're going to get into, but the first and foremost, especially with the player tags going on and how difficult he might be to deal with in Madden 23, Aaron Rodgers is a problem. Not only is he going to be difficult to deal with, but he's already really old, and the team does not have a succession plan at quarterback. Jordan Love might be a star in the next game, but he's a really low overall and probably not going to have very good dev traits. You're going to have to find a QB at some point, and you don't really have any money to do it. I think the skill positions are fine on offense and actually pretty good on defense. Depending on how Watson and Dubes are rated, I know Dubes is really fast, so he might be a good receiver, but they don't really have a lot of established talent. Aaron Jones is a good back, so is AJ Dillon. They should be fine, and then Bobby Tunyon is just Bobby Tunyon. On defense, the secondary is pretty strong with Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes. You also throw in Darnell Savage, who's a really fast safety. There's stuff to work with here, but the defense is aging and is not in great shape in the interior. And taking a quick look at the salaries, we have Bakhtiari, who's a guy that's just so highly paid, and he's definitely worth it for the real-life Packers, but he's only going to get worse as your franchise goes on. Same with Aaron Rodgers and guys like Campbell, Smith, throw Adrian Amos in there. They're probably going to be unusable unless Madden drastically changes how regression works. I don't think they are. This team could be in trouble in the next 2 years of your franchise. If I were rebuilding the Packers, I would immediately find a way to get rid of Aaron Rodgers just because I know he's not in the long-term plans, and I would absolutely focus on trying to develop Christian Watson, Amari Rodgers if you wanted to, or Romeo Doubs. The Falcons are the number 2 hardest rebuild. Now this one probably could change the most based on how rookies play out, specifically with Desmond Ridder and Drake London. But right now, I don't see either guy being incredibly impactful in Madden 23, at least as rookies. Desmond Ridder could be insanely fast. Drake London could have insane catching, which could change the rating. Right now, I have them at number 2. You have guys like Cordero Patterson you don't necessarily want to build around. Outside of Kyle Pitts and Drake London, you don't have any other receiving weapons. The offensive line is really just okay. And then on the defensive side, the only 2 guys you really want to be building around are, well, let's call it 3. AJ Terrell, Grady Jarrett, and Deion Jones. Outside of that, you're going to need to find some other weapons. You definitely need more corners and safeties, and then at least 1 elite pass rusher. This definitely isn't accounted for on this screen, but Matt Ryan's contract is going to be a massive cap hit that you're going to have to deal with. That's definitely going to be one of the limiting factors for this Falcons team and is probably one of the biggest reasons why they're the number 2 hardest rebuild so far. Kyle Pitts and Deion Jones are obviously great investments. Jake Matthews, I don't really see paying off. But the beautiful thing about the Falcons is that because they were paying Matt Ryan so much money, they don't have a ton of big other contracts on this team. Calvin Ridley is definitely a question mark. We don't know what's going to go on with him. If he's in the game, again, this team could go up a lot. But right now, that's going to be dead cap for the Falcons. We don't want to play with them right now. And before we get to the number 1 team, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before Madden 23 drops, and I hope you can help me get there. And the hardest team to rebuild, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, is the Houston Texans. Not only do they have a massive cap hit from trading Deshaun Watson, they don't have a lot of talent on offense or on defense, and it's going to be a pain to rebuild this team with some of the contracts they have. Looking at this roster, we have Davis Mills, who's a fine backup quarterback, but not going to be your franchise guy at any point. You have to find a new quarterback. Baker Mayfield, maybe? And then looking at the offensive weapons, yeah, you got Brandon Cooks and Mechie's probably going to be fine. You could even go to Nico Collins as a weapon. I love Brevin Jordan as a real-life player. I don't know about him in Madden. And then you do have 2 running backs in Marlon Mack and Dameon Pierce, who could probably be a decent 2-headed monster. Offensive line leaves a lot to be desired, and I think Tunsil's way overpaid for what he's going to provide you as your left tackle. On the defensive side, here's to hoping that Derek Stingley is really good, because outside of him, there is no one on this team that I really want to build around. It's going to be a total rebuild on this Texans defense, and I might actually choose the Texans to be my Madden 23 franchise team because of the work that's needed here. Now, like I said earlier, Laramie Tunsil is obviously massively overpaid, but the good thing is that you have a lot of guys who are pretty young on this team. If we take a look at the guys who are like around 30 or 29, 28, not a ton of them are super valuable to the team or like cornerstone pieces like we have with the Eagles, who have Lane Johnson and guys like that who are just really, really important. Kirksey's a linebacker, Pierre-Louis linebacker. Those are positions we'll look to replace. And then, anyone over 20, like 27 is where we find Brandon Cooks, who is like the youngest and most highly impactful player on this team. So right now, we're not going to lose a lot of guys to old age and regression. So that's going to be a huge benefit for us. Just need to find 1, the money to bring in new guys, 2, hit on draft picks, and then 3, develop the guys on the roster. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe, do all the things. I'll see you guys in the next one.